So we're going to go ahead and attach the servo. The attachment points are here and over here. As you can see, I've tightened up all the side plates, motors in, tightened up the bottom. So this will pretty much finish up the chassis. I still have to put on the ESC and wheels, but a large majority is done. So I think the receiver will probably be forward, so I'll run that wire over there. I can move it later if I need to. Pretty straightforward. What I do want to show you is how this arm is going to attach into here and down into this control arm, which will move all the steering from the back end of the vehicle. So that one is one of the larger screws, but you can tell because it has a pan head on it. This way it'll be easier to put in the servo tray, because I can make a slight adjustment if I need to, but as you can see, it is fairly tight in there. There's probably just a few millimeters of space between there. As I said earlier, I reclocked the motor so the leads would be out this side. So that should actually free up a little bit of space for me. So there you can see the completed product. Here's the screws that I was telling you about that have to be epoxied into place. I'm sorry, the bolts are epoxied into place. I'm sorry, the nuts are epoxied into place, and then the screws are attached to it. So now all of these are linked. Through the servo, and then once we have the radio hooked up, it will we'll work on the centers for it. So the rest of it, until we get the wheels on, is just basic plastic model work. What I'd like to point out is some of the things I found out when putting it together. One of the things is the trees that hold these things on are pretty thick, and I don't know if you can see it here, but I used a pair of clippers and it left some divots, so I sanded it. When it comes time to finish, I'll use some epoxy or putty to fill these, but it should be fairly invisible when it's done. The lines on all these things are actually very good. Panel lines that they put on here are terrific. So it should be very nice once it's done. So what I'll try to focus on, that just gives you an idea how that will sit on there. I'm going to try to focus on going forward will be the finishing and the detail of this, and any things that I find that are not totally normal, or any tricks. Alright, so it's been a little while since I've worked on this, so this will be all edited together. One of the upgrades I got for this was that it has a motorized turret for the Puma, and as you can see, it's pretty much together at this point. The last big structures, other than body pieces that need to be done, is to get this revolving turret piece, which is a series of gears, a small electrical motor, and I'll go over how that all goes together. It's pretty straightforward. It comes with its own instructions, as you can see. Pretty straightforward. Worm gear, series of gear with the anti-reversal piece there, the spring, the turret ring, servo. Nothing all that big. The only other thing I need to do is solder the wire leads in for this. So let me show you where we are right now. So right now I just have that sitting on top of there. This went together pretty straightforward as far as the turret piece goes. Use CA glue to hold some of these pieces together. Nothing surprising there. All the suspension is complete, which we talked about before. As you can see here, the motor's in, the gearboxes are in. I've tested all of it. I just have to put the bearings in. When I put the wheels on it, they fall out otherwise. So we're going to leave that for a little bit just so it's there. Here is the mount. This is what everything will go on. The turret ring will sit inside here, the motor in here, and the gears mounted in there. So alright, so the gearbox, it goes together fairly simple. First part is you're going to have to put these wire leads on the motor, just tin them and solder. So the first piece goes in here. So one thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to have a pair of calipers. They don't have to be digital, but you need to get the spacing right. So the number 3 gear, and here's the instructions. The number 3 gear, it has 6 millimeters between the gear and the end of the shaft, and gear 2 is 7.8. So just in order to get the gears to mesh correctly, that's all you need to do. The main gear that drives the turret, besides the turret ring itself, is this gear right here. It consists of 4 pieces. That main planetary gear, another smaller one, a spring, and this plate right here. That's it. So we talked about gear 2 and gear 3. Gear 3 is the one closest to the motor, so it would be that one right there. And actually it'll be the last one to go in. I'll put that right there. Try not to block it so you can see. And while it doesn't look like it's meshing all that great, it actually does, because I put it together already once before and tried it, and it's the way it meshes once you put the cover on, is it will be a much tighter mesh than as they're sitting here, because of course the axles aren't supporting it. So that just clips right on there, and then it's 4 screws. These are self-tapping screws, they come with the additional kit that provides the rotation for the turret. So I like to get them started first. And just like anything else, put it crosswise first here. Alright. So I'm not sure if you can see that, the completed gears. It's pretty straightforward. So the next part we're going to do is we're going to attach the turret ring, which we'll have to set in there first onto here. Now, part of the video that I really didn't shoot was a lot of the model stuff, and you can see some of it out here, which is just standard plastic model. You know, putting these formed pieces, the halves together. Nothing. The ones that I thought that were troublesome, those are the ones that I actually filmed. So this one will attach the ring, and then we can attach the servo to it after that. Alright, the next step's pretty straightforward. So, turret, body, drive, ring for the turret. So you can see it's concave. So all you got to do is you're going to place this here. The teeth will mesh the drive unit. Line that up. It's just 4 screws. So you get the idea. I'm not going to put these all in. I'll install the rest, and then we'll start back up. Alright, one of the things I wanted to show you, it took me a while to work it out, is this linkage. So the way it shows it in the picture is it shows the servo attaching to the front, but because of the way the linkage works, if you do that, there's not enough room, even if you reverse this arm over there. So the only way I could get it to do it was to mount it to the back side of the servo mounts here. Just so you know, because I messed around with it several times, the easy way to do this is to hook this arm up, don't attach it here, put the turret on, put the ring on, and then screw on the servo horn there and attach it, and then it's fine. It'll track fine and all that. I really love this kit. One thing I'm hoping someone will eventually come out with is metal hatches. These plastic ones, I don't know how they're going to hold up, and they have they have the same type of plastic hinged openings for the top one, and for the top one here, and I don't know if you can see it, but the piece literally was about 1/8 of an inch that you use to hold that turret piece on, or the hatch on, which made it near to impossible to hold it in place. So this is all done. Really all we have to do is put on the skirts here, tires, and finish the electronics. So there's a Clark board that I have for it and speaker, and that should be it. And then we'll get into the detailing aspect of the Puma. So there we go. And these skirts are, just so you know, for the detailing aspect, I was going to leave them off and then detail them separately. Instead, what I decided I'm going to do, like the fire bottle and the tools, is I will paint them And then when I looked at actual pictures, and there are a few of them out there, the wood-handled tools and the fire extinguishers in the boxes, they literally just sprayed the camouflage paint over everything. So there's no point in trying to paint them nice and then attach them. The only thing I'm going to do that with is the jack, because that seems consistently to be blackish gray in every picture I'm seeing.